back to our Non-Toxic podcast. It's Hannah once again, and I have a lot going on at the moment. And by a lot, I don't mean of things happening in my life. I just mean today has been an uphill battle for me in the sense that nothing has happened and I had to force myself to do anything at all. So let's start from the beginning. I was away at a wedding this weekend. It was amazing, but my timeline got thrown off because it was a Sunday wedding, and that's the first of its kind that I've been to. So we traveled to Arkansas, spent the weekend there. The wedding was on Sunday. My brain, for some reason, couldn't compute that that was even an option. So the whole time, I'm feeling like it's a Saturday. We drive home. We get home super late. It's like 11 o'clock. And then Monday comes around, and I have all these things lined up. I was supposed to have a guest on the podcast. I had a hair appointment. I had a coffee date. Like, it really wasn't a work-intensive day. It was more of a fun day. So then Monday morning rolls around. My alarm goes off at 6:30. I wake up. I knew that there was the possibility of an ice storm. But the thing that I do is that whenever there are tasks that I have on my schedule that I really don't care to do, like an unpleasant appointment or maybe a meeting that I'm not super thrilled about, anything of that kind, and there's like even a whisper of a prediction, then I'm like, we should probably just cancel. Like, it's definitely going to come in. This is not good. But then when the day is stacked up as such with all kinds of fun things and coffees and people I want to see and my hair appointment and all of that, I was like, I don't care how many times they say there's a winter weather warning. I don't care how many quarter inches of ice we can expect for certain. It's not going to happen. I feel it in my very bones that there's not going to be any weather. But unfortunately, there was weather. I was not correct in my gut feeling. Some would call it wishful thinking, but whatever. So I wake up on Monday, yesterday, at like 6:30. Everything gets canceled. My hair appointment got moved, which is totally fine. It's on Friday. It's not even that far in the future. But I had been doing that thing where I hold out hope and also hair washing because I know I have a hair appointment coming up and they just do a better job. So I'm like, why would I wash it myself if I can just make it to the basin that they're going to do it in for me? That's just like the most heavenly place on earth. And I would have made it if it weren't for you meddling kids and your mangy dog. Just kidding. That's not relevant. But I had gone an absurd number of days between hair washes, so I had to give myself like a full blowout yesterday, which is fine. But I didn't actually even do my hair. I just blow dried it. And then today I had a work from home day like I usually do twice a week, just nothing but work from home. And I know that I need to record because the episode is coming out tomorrow as of this moment right now. And I had not recorded anything. I was supposed to do it Monday. All of that got changed because of weather. But I'm like, I need to get this episode recorded. I need to get it out. But I was having one of those days where like just talking feels like a struggle. And I've been having more and more of those recently, which we'll get into. But it was just everything felt forced. I'm like doing my work, trying to schedule things. And my job isn't that mentally taxing. Like I do social media for a living. So it's not like I'm, doing brain surgery over here. But sometimes I just have days, even with my medication, where I will be sitting in front of my screen with my to-do list, with a very menial, inconsequential task in front of me. And it's like I can't force myself to do it. I'm trying my very hardest. I'm like, just get it done. It'll take you 6.5 minutes. It's not that big of a deal. And I just sit there and it's almost like it would take an act of God to get me to do this one thing. And I don't know how to explain it. It sounds so silly. It sounds like, girl, just grind through it. Just do it. You are standing in your own way. Most of the time that's probably true. But I was having one of those days today where I just couldn't, like it was everything I could do to get all of my tasks done. And it took me like twice as long as it probably should have just to get them completed. So I got my stuff done. I went to the gym and I'm recording last because I needed to get myself like in a different headspace to record. So I flipped. So I'm recording at the very, very end of the day. It's evening time. It looks evil outside. It's so foggy. It's mysterious. It's ominous. Honestly, I don't mind it because whenever I'm not in a super like bubbly mood and it's sunny, I get so pissed off. But if I'm in not like a gloomy, just forlorn mood, then it's cloudy outside. I feel in balance. I feel complete equilibrium with the world. So I really actually don't mind the cold, gloomy weather because that's kind of how I just feel. But then one could argue, do you just feel that way because the weather is cold and gloomy and you're just, whatever, I'm going off on a tangent. But all that to say, I'm struggling today. You can probably tell by my lack of outfit, have not done anything except for work from home, went to the gym, and came back home, had to blow dry my hair once again because I was sweaty. And now I'm here. So I was like, you have to put makeup on. So I did like the little bare minimum that you do. I'm also kind of losing my voice, so bear with me if you hear the scratchies. I haven't taken up smoking, I swear. It's just, 'tis the season, I guess. It really has been a struggle and an act of love to bring this episode to you. So hopefully it can be worth it. But here we are. I do want to call attention to my sweatshirt. I don't know if you can tell, but this says genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, which is a quote from our Lord and Savior, Tony Stark. So very cute, brand new. And this is the extent of dressing up that I can give to you today. I really miss Brie. I saw her yesterday and she's just going through a lot right now. I know that some of you might have seen on her Instagram or know what's happening in her life, but that's just not my story to tell. So I'm going to leave that for her and just know that she's hanging in there, but just give her extra thoughts and prayers right now. And hopefully she'll be back across from me very soon because it is getting a little challenging to muster up the energy to talk to myself for this long. I know, first world problems, cry me a river, but I miss her dearly and it's just way more fun with her here. So hopefully we will see her very soon, but if not, then she gets and deserves all the time that she needs. Today, we have a fun topic. Not really, it's depression, but let's do a couple quick little life updates before I jump into it. First of all, you guys know, because I just said that I have not been super peppy lately, hence the topic of the day, but I'm trying to convince myself to get like fired up. And that's what's so hard about solo recording is that there's no one to like bounce things off of. There's no one to talk while I like take a sip of water or collect my thoughts or refer to my notes. So I'm trying to keep talking and make it coherent and also not just filler words the entire time, while also figuring out like, okay, how am I going to tie into this? And then check the novel that I wrote down of things to talk about. So it just, again, first world problems, cry me a river, but it is a little bit more difficult. So it takes more energy to do this versus having somebody here where we can like build off of each other and you kind of just, I don't know, you get energized by having the company of somebody that you enjoy talking to. So whenever it's just me, I'm like, can I do this? And I never really know until I show up if it's one of those days that I'm going to be able to talk for like an hour and 15 minutes and it just flows. And I'm like, oh, wow, I can't believe time flew that fast. Or if I'll get to like the 35-minute mark and be like, oh, what else am I going to say? This is like a SpongeBob episode. And I want it to be more like a Bachelor episode. I don't know. So I was trying to get myself hype for coming into this recording. So I'm like blasting music. This is usually something that gets me pretty hype. It's impossible to be sad whenever you're like blaring some of your favorite songs. It's just like a weird mental thing, at least for me. Maybe it would just make you angry if you do that. But whenever I'm sad or I'm just like not feeling like I'm on my A game, even going to a meeting or whatever I'm doing, then I'll just turn on either my speaker at home or my car stereo. I'm like about to burst the speakers. It's like so loud I can't hear myself think. My eardrums are like, please stop. But my mood gets better. So I'm blasting music. I'm driving up here. Again, it's foggy, it's cloudy, it's just sad and somber outside. I'm blasting 70s music. I'm singing along, just trying to like trick my brain into thinking that we're super hype, like we're fired up, just tailgating my own podcast recording. And the only thing that I could think of is Dwight Schrute preparing for his sales meeting whenever he's just like jamming out in the car. That is literally me coming to record. So I hope you appreciate all the effort that went into getting to this roughly 65% energy level. You also notice that I'm not having a coffee today because I've already had a whole pot to myself. And like I said, it's evening time, so I don't need to be drinking any more caffeine. With that being said, I really want one. And I also don't like to buy coffees whenever I'm recording by myself because then I end up just letting them get cold and then I'm sad. Maybe I'll treat myself with an evening coffee. Don't talk to me until I've had my 8 p.m. coffee. Okay, Ice Storm 2024. Godspeed to all of us who are in the Midwest who are dealing with this. I do want to say there's a severe discrepancy in the way that I view weather, like I mentioned before, when it comes to things that I enjoy. I just have such low tolerance for things that I enjoy being canceled, especially this time of year. I need as many enjoyable things as I can just to convince me to get my butt out of bed in the morning. So when one of them has to get canceled or postponed, I'm like, I will rent a snowmobile to get myself to this hair appointment if it means that I can have like just a shred of serotonin. So had a hard time with that yesterday. I was really like debating if it was something worth risking my life over, and ultimately we decided that it was not. So catch me with new hair on Friday. I'm doing the exact same thing as it is right now. I've been wrestling with that. It's not important in the slightest, but basically I'm having a crisis because over the summer I was super, super blonde and I didn't really think of it as that drastic of a change from my normal hair until I went back to closer to my normal hair, which is this. And I'm having like the most ugly duckling syndrome ever. Whenever I went on vacation, I didn't get a spray tan. I haven't spray tan in months. And I was just feeling so ugly. My hair was too dark. My skin was too pale. I felt like you could see every flaw. I felt like I was just pale, like a snail that you just yank the shell off of. That's how I felt. Like Mr. Krabs. Sorry for the double SpongeBob references, but Mr. Krabs without his shell. That's how I felt. And I vowed to myself on the boat that I'm going to go back home and bleach the life out of my hair because that is the way that I will feel pretty again. And then it turns out that was just hormones. I got my period and everything was fine. So now I am debating because I was completely unable to see any other option for me to feel self-confident besides dyeing my hair blonder. And it's a multifaceted issue, and allow me to dissect it for you. So in the summertime, I was tan, I was working out a ton, and I was blonde. So I felt super confident. Which of these things caused it? I don't know. Was it just one? Probably not. It could have been all of those things, plus also the vitamin D and the happiness of summertime and whatever else. Now it's cold. I have not been tanning or spray tanning. I'm feeling pale and my hair is dark. So I'm like blaming my hair for all of the issues in my life. But here's the thing. I feel like I look better objectively with blonde hair because I feel like it just pops more. I feel like it just is like more of a, I don't know. I just feel like I look prettier. Every picture I see, I'm like, oh yeah, that is my peak. But then I'm like, girl, was that just because you're tan and you're in shape, or is it just the blonde hair? But then I also feel like red is my color spiritually in my soul. I was actually born with red hair. It just died out sometime around high school, college, when life just doled me down with, the grievances of adult existence. But I don't want to dye it back to blonde because it's hard to keep up with. It's more expensive. It's worse for your hair. And I want to be a redhead. I feel like I identify as a redhead in my very genes. So if I dye it blonde, I will feel more confident, but then I will have to pay the repercussions and the price indefinitely. But if I stay red, am I going to feel hideous? Time will tell, I suppose. Also, I was going through this whole thing in my head, like, is it even worth talking about? And I wanted to bring it up, one, because this is, my podcast for the time being, and I can say whatever I want. But this is oddly something that I've been wrestling with for way too much time. I've spent too much mental energy and mental real estate on this, but I was thinking I wanted to be more natural, not spray tanning, not dyeing my hair. But then I was thinking, why? Like, is there some kind of nobility found in not being, quote, fake? Because it's still a fake hair color. It's just closer to my natural color. It's not the one that comes out of my head anymore. That would just be brown. So is there anything, am I like on a sliding scale of respectability based on how close I stay to my natural form? I don't know. But also, spray tanning and not spray tanning doesn't equate to being a better person or to literally anything. But I feel like society sometimes shames us for being like, quote, fake or superficial, or anyone who has too much work done or does too many things like, oh, well, she's pretty, but her hair is fake and she gets a spray tan and all that stuff. It's not even real. And that might be true. We can't really compare our natural selves to somebody who's put a lot of time and money into their appearance. But I just sometimes catch myself even falling into that narrative of being like, well, I need to be more natural. I need to, focus on natural beauty. And at the same point, it's like, why? There's no police saying like, oh, good for her. She's got her natural hair and she doesn't change her skin and she doesn't wear any makeup. That's amazing. Because we have all these things for a reason. If you want to be super made up and to dye your hair and get extensions and do all of these procedures, then do what you want to do. I just feel like sometimes we demonize taking these steps to make ourselves feel more confident, and there's literally nothing wrong with it. So that's a little unrelated, irrelevant soapbox. And that has been my blonde crisis. So by the time this episode comes out, there's still 2 days to convince me of something if you strongly have an opinion, which I sincerely doubt anyone has even cared for the past 4 minutes of this conversation. So with that being said, let's get into it. Only 14 minutes of nonsense today. Also, I brought these glasses. You probably can't tell because most of you are on Spotify, but I brought these because I felt like it would excuse me for not wearing as much makeup. But then I have 2 massive studio lights and it's just making me look kind of freaky. So we're going to not actually wear these. Unfortunately, you just have to deal with my regular face. Anywho, seasonal depression. I don't know what it is this year, but I feel like there's a whole new strand of seasonal depression, like back whenever COVID was still a thing and they were announcing new strands and new variants, that's what we have, but seasonal depression this year. It's mutated. It's taken on a new identity. It's stronger than ever. I don't know what to do, but every friend, every person that I've talked to recently has been like, I don't know what's going on. Like something is different this year. I have not been myself. I've been feeling just like it's so difficult just to get out of bed in the morning. And I switch into this mode where whenever I have an issue, it's all encompassing. But the second somebody else has an issue, I'm like, oh my gosh, let me help you. Let's talk about it. But I've been trying to be better about just commiserating with someone because there's nothing you can really do. Everyone who's had seasonal depression knows that whenever you're in the throes of it, there's nothing that anyone can say like, oh, just go for a walk, have a banana, go outside, just do something. There's nothing that can change it. You just feel crappy all the time, and that's okay because it's a seasonal disorder. So I've been trying to be better about just empathizing and being like, yeah, me too. I'm not feeling my best. I'm not feeling super motivated because it also makes you feel really crappy whenever you're in this slump and you just don't know how to get out of it, but you know that you definitely are suffering with, all of these struggles, and someone is on Instagram or in your office doing something and they're just halfway into their New Year's resolutions. They're killing it at life. They are feeling great. They are happy and motivated and all these things. And you're just like, why don't I feel that way? What is wrong with me? And the answer is nothing. Seasonal affective disorder is probably what's wrong with you, but there's nothing wrong with you. And before I go further, let me just read the definition because I did put that into my notes. Seasonal depression is a mood disorder characterized by depression that occurs at the same time every year. Seasonal affective disorder occurs in climates where there is less sunlight at certain times of the year. Symptoms include fatigue, depression, hopelessness, and social withdrawal. Yeah, so if that sounds familiar to any of you guys, then you're right there with me. And I know that I have a little bit different case because I was dealing with a lot of emotions and, personal trauma and grief going into the holidays. And then afterwards, you always have that come down of feeling so holly jolly and festive. And there's all these things that you're going out to and you're buying new outfits and you're shopping for your friends and there's holiday get-togethers and there's just so much going on. And then all of a sudden New Year's happens and it's just over. And it's a super long month. January always feels like it's forever long. There's all these jokes online where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already the 45th of January. And they make me laugh every time because it's true. But we're all feeling this come down from this crazy intense season that feels like it'll never end and that you're never going to get caught back up. You're never going to save money again. You're never going to be done with all the holiday parties. And then suddenly you are and there's nothing else to do. And you're like, what am I supposed to be doing with myself during this time of year? I'm not rushing for the first time. But also you have all this downtime and sometimes that can eat away at you. And maybe not everyone has the downtime, but I'm just comparing it to the holidays with my own situation. Some of you might be busier than ever, but it makes it that much more challenging because now you're left with all of your thoughts. You have the excess weight from the holidays. You have spent so much money. You're probably not trying to spend much more. So you're kind of stuck in your house. The weather is bad. You're not seeing your friends because everything's canceled or you can't get out of your house because of the weather. Or your kids are sick, or you're sick, or your husband's sick. There's just always something going on to kind of isolate you. And all of those things add up to just being not stellar. So that's pretty much exactly where I'm at, coming down from all this craziness. I talked about it in the last episode, but I really didn't feel like I had processed everything emotionally that I was dealing with because I was so busy. And then going on vacation and coming back, all of a sudden I have all this time to think. And that's not necessarily a good thing. I know it probably is in the long run because we should process our emotions, right, guys? But it's just difficult to get through everything. And for me, I have always defined myself by being very motivated and being a hard worker and devoting myself to my business and to fitness and whatever else there is. Like, I find this reassurance whenever people say, oh my gosh, you're so busy. You're always doing something. Or people talk about me like I am doing well because I work hard, or I'm always, those are the kinds of affirmations that I use to validate myself and be like, okay, yeah, I'm doing a good job because I'm busy and people know that I'm busy and I'm doing great. Obviously, if I weren't busy, I would not be doing great. And I just feed myself this false picture of who I am based on what people say about me, which is again based on what they see online, which is what I choose to put online. So it's all very convoluted, and somehow that has made up the fabric of who I think that I am and who I think I should be. So right now I'm struggling even more because I don't have that same motivation that I can usually count on to kind of carry me through everything. I will always love what I do and feel very fortunate to have the job that I have. But right now it's almost like I talked about at the beginning, I just don't have the same drive. And I'm looking at my work and I just don't care as much as I used to. to do this. I don't feel inspired. I'm like looking at my clients, and again, I'm so fortunate to have them, and that's why it's even more frustrating for me. But I can't. It's like the idea great has just been closed in my head, and I've been trying to inspire myself and practice editing and doing more things that can inspire me creatively, so I can get that spark back and get the juices flowing and everything. But it's just not working. It's almost like there's like a little hallway that leads into my brain where all the ideas and like fun stuff used to flow through, and it's just like sealed off. So I really am having a hard time with that. And you can't force creativity. And I'm not going to sit here and claim that my job is harder than like a CPA or someone who actually works in a technical field. But I will say that whenever I worked at the bank and everything was just paperwork and numbers and routines and all of these things, it was sometimes easier to show up and go on autopilot just because I could do exactly my job by the book. And as long as you're getting things done according to the, instructions, then you're not really required to put that much energy into it. Like everything just needs to show up, you check the boxes, you get things done. But now everything I do is either forward facing, like I'm very social with my clients, I'm meeting with them, I'm doing consulting, I'm on calls, or I'm trying to be creative and come up with good content to post for them. So it always just feels like it takes more of me versus if I just had to show up and punch numbers into a spreadsheet or into a software program. And I don't want to go back to that, but sometimes I romanticize it in my head and think about like it would just be so nice to show up to a job where it doesn't matter if I'm me at all. Like I could just show up. There's no need to be charismatic. There's no need to be extra bubbly. No one's going to wonder if I'm like, oh, are you having an off day? Or like, man, she was weird. Because even though people pay for my expertise, they're paying for me as well. And whenever I do a consulting meeting, I want to give them my absolute best energy and make them feel like it was time well spent and conversation should flow. And I want them to really enjoy spending that time with me, not only so they read book, but so they have just overall a good impression of social media and feel encouraged going forward into doing whatever they're going to do with what I tell them. So whenever I can't provide that, I just get anxious and then I get in my own head. And lately I've been, like I joke about getting myself psyched up for social things, but whenever I'm going out now, I'll be driving to a meeting just in silence sometimes, like, okay, you can do this. It'll be fine. Like almost conserving my energy, like I have a limited amount. And then I compare myself again back to me in the summertime. And I'm like, it was so easy then. Like I would love to be social. I would book 8 meetings in a day, back to back to back, just bouncing from thing to thing, feeling amazing. And then I could go podcast at the end of it and I could have talked for 2 straight hours. Like I was just overflowing with giddiness and happiness and I was just exuberant, like feeling so happy to be alive. And I don't want to get too, cynical or cryptic over here, but that's just not how I'm feeling right now. And honestly, I think that's okay, but it stresses me out because I've driven so much of my identity from that persona, like from, oh, well, if I know who I am because I have been this person for so long and because people have told me who I am. And just not feeling like myself I'm like, okay, well, what do I do now? And I've always been the kind of person that, like, I wake up early, I work out all the time. Like, basically, I'm that obnoxious person that I just talked about. But now I'm sleeping in later and later. And I mean, it's not super late. Like, I'll get out of bed by 8 every day. But that, for me, like, there was a time that I got up at 4:45 every day to go work out. And listen, I'm not trying to get back to that stage by any means ever again in my life. But it makes me feel like a lazy slob right now. So I've been wrestling with that back and forth because I've got this one side of me that's like, you've done it before. You've been better. You've worked harder. You've gotten up earlier. You've been more in shape. You've done all these things. So just do it again. And then part of me is like, no, life is in seasons. We go through seasons of overexertion and passion and creativity and color. And then we go through seasons of rest and restoration, hibernation, if you will, where things are just a little bit more dull and more isolated. And I think that's okay. However, even if it's okay, I still struggle to reconcile both versions of myself. And I think that a lot of people are in that same place. And a couple of the friends that I've talked to have struggled with different things. Like, we're all pretty much struggling with our body image. Everyone's feeling those couple extra Santa's cookie lattes that we had from Urban. I regret none of them personally. We're all having, you're feeling a little bit extra. There's more to love on us physically these days. And for me, if I'm not eating super great, I break out. And I break out in the weirdest way. Like sometimes I think that my body just has its own sense of humor, but I'll break out like under my chin where you can't see it. So I'll be like, oh, I'm so broken out. And someone's like, what? No, you're not. But I can feel it, and it almost makes me claustrophobic in my own skin because I'm like, I can feel it on my jaw and on my neck, and you can't really see it, but I'm conscious of it with every move that I make, and it almost is enough to make me not want to leave the house because it's like whenever you have a stuffy nose and talking is just so irritating because you feel it every time you say a word. That's how it feels for me right now because every time I move, I'm like, oh, I can feel that I'm so broken out, but you can't tell. So I shouldn't feel that insecure because at least you can't see it, but whatever, I'm going off again. However, that's something that I know across the board, everyone that I've spoken to is having a hard time with. And just loneliness. I think that there's fewer events in January because everyone's burnt out. Again, no one really has a ton of money just lying around because, if you do Christmas right, you're dead broke. Right, ladies? Just kidding. Don't take my financial advice. But it's just one of those things that no matter how many times you tell someone, I'm going through the same thing, you're not alone, everyone's feeling this way, you're like, well, that's great and all. I'm glad that I'm not the only person, but that doesn't take away the fact that I feel like shit. But thanks for your empathy. So I don't want to minimize anything and say, oh, I've got all the solutions, but you're not alone. As unhelpful as that might be, we're all in the same boat. And I have put together some of my thoughts to maybe take some of the pressure off of you to be perfect during this time of year. So let's talk about it. You're like, haven't we been doing that for 25 minutes? Sorry, guys. Like I said, I'm not on my A game today. So under my remember column, here's what I have for you. Remember that this feeling is temporary. This is not going to last forever. And if I might refer back to my own favorite quote, this too shall pass. It's so true. And it's so crucial to remember whenever we're in the trenches like this, when you feel ugly, you feel fat, you feel like it's too cold, you haven't seen your friends in forever, your lips are chapped, your fingers are frozen, you can't even type. It's like everything just seems like it sucks. And it does a little bit, but it will pass. And there will be a time that you'll open your windows and the birds will be chirping and the sun will be out, and then you'll go get a spring special coffee and you'll roll your windows down and you'll listen to some music and you'll turn it up way too loud and you'll feel the sun on your skin and you'll have that first sunburn that you thought it was too early in the year to get and you should have put sunscreen on but you didn't because it's like mid-April and you just somehow convince yourself the sun doesn't exist in mid-April, and life will be good again. And your kids will have time to play outside. You won't be crammed in the house. You'll get to see your friends. You'll eat on patios again. All of that stuff is coming. And for me, that used to make me just feel worse because I'm like, I want that now. I don't have it now. But now I'm trying to see it as a different kind of encouragement. So knowing that this is temporary, this really like exhausting feeling of just getting through every day is temporary. And with that being said, we can free ourselves up to enjoy it more and find some of the good things. And seasonal depression is not easily enjoyed because it is awful and it sucks the life out of you. But here's what I mean. If there are days coming when I feel like getting up early, then I'm free to sleep in today. If there are days coming where I feel like planning all of these social events and going out with my friends and going on date nights and committing to all these different things, then I'm free right now to do the minimum socially that's required of me. And if there's time for me to go for runs and to go swim and to lay out and to do all of these things, then I'm free right now to read a book in bed for 4 hours and not do anything else with my evenings. So I hope that I'm getting my point across, but basically there is a time for everything that you want to do. There's going to be a time that you're going to country concerts and listening to music and doing all these amazing, fun, fulfilling things. So right now, it doesn't matter that you're not. And I get such bad FOMO or feelings of being left behind or like I'm falling behind in my resolutions that I didn't even set this year. But I'll convince myself that I'm somehow wasting my time and I'm not using it wisely. And I only went to the gym like once in 3 weeks and I'm behind. But I know exactly what happens in the summer is I just have more energy and I want to be outside and I want to move my body. So I do it a ton more then. So maybe now is just not the season for that. And I also know that in the summer, whenever the sun is out until 9 p.m., I don't like to be in bed. And I don't like to be doing anything besides being out and enjoying life. So there are times in the summer that I'm just so exhausted because I keep saying yes to things and I keep overcommitting myself, but I don't want to miss anything and I don't want to be left out. And I just am so full of life and happiness that I just keep doing more things. So I think that we need to find that balance. And if summertime in spring and fall and whatever else, whatever season makes you feel the most alive, if those seasons are coming and those are the times that we get to go out and fill our cup, maybe now is the time that we just need to sit and rest and do as little as possible, while also remembering, like, you can't stop everything. I have to still do my work, and I don't want to let myself just sit here and binge eat like I want to and indulge in all these unhealthy habits. So I'm still going to do my best to move my body and to do things that are healthy and productive and do my work. But maybe I'm not seeking out new business right now, or maybe I'm not putting pressure on myself to go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. I'm just trying to go once or twice and walk on the treadmill or go and just do an easy workout or whatever I feel like doing that day. And get coffee with a friend every so often, if that's all that you need. If you need more, then do more. But if you're feeling this weight like I am of just, like I cannot handle life right now. And I don't mean that in a cryptic way. I do love my life, but I'm just so tired right now. So I don't want anyone to take that out of context and think that I'm like, this is not a cry for help. This is just the regular struggles. So if anyone's struggling more than that and, thinking that they might need a little bit more assistance, then please advocate for yourself and seek help where you might need it more. But everything is temporary. Everything will be good again. So right now, this is like your safe time. You're here anyways. You might as well make the most of it. And by making the most of it, I mean do the least humanly possible. Read your books. I actually put together a list. You can read. You can organize or clean your house if you want to find something productive. Clean, organize your house, throw away old things, go through all of your photos in your photo album, reformat like your apps, the way things are laid out on your phone, try and make everything more clean because it's something that you look at every day. And I think that sometimes we underestimate the power of our phone to stress us out. So if your phone screen is cluttered and full of notifications, take the time to clean that out because we're all sitting at home, so you might as well do something. But that being said, it doesn't have to be a productive season. And I think that we need to take the pressure off. If you're at home all weekend and you do nothing except for watch something on Netflix or scroll TikTok, that's okay. You don't have to, Marie Kondo your house. You don't have to clean out your fridge. You don't have to reinvent yourself. You don't have to at-home dermaplane, spa day, nothing. You can have a completely unproductive day, and that's fine because you have to treat this season as a restful season to recharge you, to allow you to want to blossom in the winter. And I saw some quote that is kind of cheesy that I'm probably going to butcher, but it was something about how we are the only species which that's not even true. I think it's mammals. We're the only mammal that doesn't take like a hibernation. See, like I'm butchering it. I'm not a scientist. I don't know what I'm talking about. It was basically saying that nothing in nature blooms the entire year. Animals rest, birds fly south, plants die. All these things cease to be in the winter, and then life comes back in the spring and the summer. So this pressure or this expectation for humans to be at this high level all year round just isn't realistic because nothing else in nature is. So without being like, all moonchild on you guys, that is something to consider. There's nothing else in the world that is just constantly going, and you shouldn't be either. Next, if you feel badly, which I learned this from a TikTok, if you're feeling bad, if you're having one of those days where you feel gross, you feel like you're in a slump, you're feeling just not good whatsoever, ask yourself, did I eat? Did I drink water? Did I have a connection with a friend or a family member, someone who loves me? Did I move my body, even like stretch, go for a walk? Did I leave the house today? Did I take a shower? And those things sound really remedial, but if you think about it, at least for me, maybe I'm just going to expose myself for being disgusting, but if I have an ice day like yesterday, whenever I wake up, I'm in my house, I don't really open the blinds because it just throws off the ambiance of the house. I like lamps and candles. So I'm not really seeing the outside. I'm working. I'm not calling my friends just to chit chat. I'm not talking to my mom. I see my husband, which is fantastic. But I'll stay in my pajamas all day. And next thing you know, at 6 p.m., I really haven't done much. I'll drink coffee, which means I'm not hungry, which means I end up feeling just shaky and bad. And you have dinner and then go to bed. I'm like, well, I didn't take a shower. I probably haven't drank enough water because I haven't done anything. And then you almost get tricked by you haven't really exerted yourself, so you shouldn't be tired. So you don't really need to shower technically, but it makes you feel so much better whenever you take care of yourself. But sometimes you just don't have the energy. You're cold and your pajamas are so soft and so comfy. And I don't realize that I'm actually sabotaging myself because I'm thinking that I'm doing myself a solid by allowing myself to stay in my comfy clothes and not get in the cold, hellish stream of water. But I'm actually making myself feel worse in the long run. So that's a little nice flow chart for everyone to go through whenever you're feeling like you're just having an awful day and you can't seem to bust out of it. Step away from social media. Drink a cold glass of water. I know it's freezing, but just do that one thing. Have a snack, preferably something that has some nutrition, not necessarily like a healthy low-calorie snack, but like a string cheese, something like a granola bar with protein, like just something that is going to sustain you. Because my tendency is to go grab some candy and wonder why I feel bad again 30 minutes later. So do as I say, not as I do, and then call a friend and talk to somebody. And no matter how much I say, it doesn't help to just have someone else going through it with you. Sometimes it just feels better to talk about it. So if I'm feeling like I'm having an especially rough day and I call a friend and they're like, oh my gosh, me too. Like, I don't know what's in the air. All of a sudden I'm like, okay, so it's not just me. I'm not, and it comforts that part of me that holds on to, you should be working out. You should be doing all this stuff. Everybody else is. You're the only person, like you're falling behind. Something is wrong with you. It nurtures and calms that part of me. And then I'm like, okay, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Everything is okay. Everything is going to be okay. And there's no need to rush in or out of anything else. So that's what I'm here to tell you today. I don't know if anybody else is even struggling to the extent that at least my close circle is. I would hope that it's not just the people around me, because that would point to me being the common denominator, and that's not something I can get down with. But I think that it's normal at this time to feel a little hopeless, a little like this month is going on forever, like it's just never-ending winter. Everything is bad, and especially if you're trapped at home, you just, I don't know, your world's kind of small right now. And I just want you to close your eyes, unless you're driving, in which case maybe keep one cracked, and just picture your happiest summer memories and the lake and the pool and, you know, refreshing Sonic drinks and working out outside, going for walks, the sun being out. Like, picture driving home at 8 p.m. and the sun still being high in the sky, versus now if I'm out at 8 p.m., I'm like, it is midnight. So picture all of that and just hold on to it. And then try and give yourself permission to take it easy right now and relax. And if there's a Netflix show that you haven't watched yet, now is the time. If you haven't read a book or a book series, it's a great time to do that too. Do all of the things that you almost put off whenever there's a better option. And I'm so guilty of that. Honestly, that's one of the things that I do with reading and with organizing and cleaning up my camera roll and drawing. Like, there's always something that I could do, but if there's another option, I won't. So I'm not going to draw if I can go outside and go for a run. But if I can't go outside and go for a run, maybe I'll grab my sketchbook and my pencils, and then it's so fulfilling and creative just to have that extra outlet. Or I probably won't read if I have the chance to go out and go somewhere with my friends. But if I can't go out and go somewhere with my friends, I'll have hours to sit at home and read. And then I love that experience. And it's like restful because I can go somewhere else in my brain. I can turn everything about real life off and just dissociate for a while. So use now to do all of those things that you're like, oh yeah, I'll do it sometime. And then you just don't. This is your nudge. Okay, guys, we're all in this together. And I think that everything I said last time when we talked about New Year's resolutions always stands true again, where it's okay to do things that are not productive, not for money, not to make you healthier, just things to enjoy it. And right now, the name of the game is not necessarily improving yourself or your life. I would say personally, I'm trying not to backslide. I don't want to have a worse life coming out of all of this. I don't want to be like, ooh, man, I have a lot of extra weight to show for this, January and February. But I also don't want to make my whole goal and focus to be fit, if that makes sense. Like, I want to maintain and not dig myself a deeper hole. I'm not condoning any of the like depression coping mechanisms where you stay in bed and don't shower and don't work out and don't feed yourself. None of that. That's unhealthy. I'm just saying, don't push yourself to excel and to blossom out of your cocoon right now. That's not, you're supposed to be in your chrysalis. This is our chrysalis era and season and whatever else you subscribe to as a millennial or Gen Z. We're supposed to be rotting right now. And there's this thing that my friends and I used to do in high school. We would call it the wow factor, before prom, which is something I feel way too old to even be talking about, but before prom, we would all come to school with no makeup. We'd wear glasses, baggy sweats, ratty hair, looking disgusting, with the thought that, okay, when prom comes, we're going to look that much better because by comparison to how we've looked all week, it's going to be just night and day. So I think that going into the spring, it's almost the same thing. Like there's no need, you can't be on level 10 all year round. So let's just conserve our gas, conserve our energy and our hot girl personas. Just tuck that away for now. Let it charge, okay? Let it, get fester is the wrong word because that's nasty, but let it cook. And then when the spring rolls around, we can be right back out, feeling our best and ready to take on the world. So in roughly 2-ish months, I'll come out with another episode talking about how we can go out there and just grab life by the throat and throw it against the wall and say, I'm the captain now. But for now, we're not the captain. For now, we're just along for the ride. We're like a stowaway. I'm a stowaway in the boat of my own life, just hoping no one finds me and asks me a question. That's really convoluted. Okay. Another note that I put for you. You're not alone. Everyone feels this way to an extent. No one's at their happiest in January. If you are, you should be evaluated. And under no circumstances should you look at photos of yourself from the summertime. Also, don't weigh yourself. It's not your business. Those are probably the most imperative things that I've put in my notes ever. Don't look at photos of yourself from the summer. You saw and heard how much that sent me into a spiral at the very beginning. It's just not the same. It's not. You haven't seen nearly as much of the sun. You have not had the chance to go outside and go for a walk. Unless you want to lose a finger to hypothermia, there's no reason for you to pull out your camera roll and go to the month of June and look at pictures. You will be sad. You'll be very sad. And don't weigh yourself. My scale at my house has been out of batteries since before I moved in, and I have not changed them. I'm going to throw it away. It's not my business. There's nothing that weighing myself is going to tell me that defines me. I strictly go off of like my performance. Like imagine me in the gym just doing like PE benchmark testing. I'm doing the pacer. That's not what I mean. I'm not doing the sit and reach in the gym. But I can tell my health based on what I can do because I know what I have been able to do in the past. And if I'm doing better or if I'm doing worse, I can gauge based on that. And also how my clothes are fitting and how I'm feeling and all of those things. Those are what I use to kind of measure my health. And for me, weight just seems like it only tells a portion of the story, especially as a girl. Like my weight varies based on how much muscle I have and how much water I'm retaining and how much I've been eating, and it just goes on. I don't like to weigh myself. Even whenever I go to the doctor and they weigh me, I'm like doing one of these, just like, don't tell me. And if I see them putting on their chart, I'm just putting blinders on. It'll put something in my head. I know what will happen. I'll look at it. It'll be higher than I think because I haven't weighed myself since I was like 20 years old. And then I'll get it into my head. And if I would have looked at myself in the mirror before thinking, oh yeah, I look great, and then I have that number in my head, then suddenly I'll go look at myself in the mirror with not a single thing having changed. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, something is very wrong. And that's not what I want to do to myself. So that is on self-awareness as a grown 25-year-old. And if you can take a note from my book, then please do. So let me tell you my game plan. I am not pursuing new business right now. If something comes to me, then I will evaluate it and take it on. But I'm not pursuing new business. I'm really not looking to grow because I know that I'm not giving my best effort, or I'm not feeling like I'm able to. I'm giving my best effort, but my best effort right now is not the same as my best effort in June, July, when I just want to take the world on single-handedly. And I don't think it's fair to bring someone on and then not be able to give them what I would like to, if that makes sense. Not very eloquent, but I will give everyone my absolute best effort. I just know that there will be a time whenever I'm overflowing with ideas again. And at that point, that's whenever I want to pursue some new clients and some new business. As far as fitness, I am doing what feels great to me at the moment. If it's nothing, like yesterday, I'm doing nothing. Today, I felt like working out and really exerting myself. So I went to the gym and I ran and I got really sweaty and it was nasty. And then I lifted arms and then I had to dry my hair and then I regretted everything. But it got me moving and I was listening to a really fun, upbeat soundtrack and that felt really nice. So I had a good time with that. And I'm going to read my book for probably 2 hours tonight because what else am I going to do? I'm going to sit next to my husband on the couch while he does whatever he's doing on his phone at the moment. Call that quality time. And then I'm going to keep him up until midnight talking. And he'll be like, why didn't you talk to me between the hours of 9 and 11? Why are you talking to me right now? And it'll be a fun little game that we're going to play. And then tomorrow, I have a few meetings, and I'm going to put my very cutest warm outfit on. And those are kind of oxymoronic words. Cute and warm do not go together that often. And I'm going to do my very best to put on a nice makeup look, have everything look fantastic, blend my face makeup into my neck because we are pushing the boundaries of the lightest shade right now. And I'm going to get myself a nice coffee, go out, listen to a fun podcast. I'm really big on the Broski Report right now. Love Brittany Broski. She will make me cackle in traffic. And I'm going to go socialize to the best of my ability and not be hard on myself if I'm awkward or feeling like it's forced. Because sometimes it flows and sometimes I feel like I'm the most charming person alive, and sometimes I'm out there having a conversation that I actively know will keep me up at night because it was so awkward. And I'll say, did I really behave like that in public? And that's all right. That's part of the human experience. And then we're going to flow into the weekend, and I'm not going to make crazy plans because lately I have been making plans and then the day comes and I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Because I try and think that I know what's best for myself. And I'm like, you know what? You have to get out of the house. You're being depressing. You're being sad. This is really pathetic. So I make the plans, and the plan rolls around, and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to cancel on this person, but I also really don't want to do anything. So now I'm being proactive, and I'm just not going to make the plan in the first place. So it's different. I like to do coffees. I like to socialize during the day, but something about the night, I'm just feeling so pulled to my house. Like I want to be there and be completely closed off from the world. So all this makes me sound like I'm 100 and depressed. I am one of those things, but I am depressed in the sense that it's just a hard time of year to feel colorful. So hoping the colors come back for all of us. If you have any tips for me, I would love to share them with the listeners. If you have any stories, if you'd like to commiserate, let's chat. Let's talk about how much life sucks right now. I've got some playlists for you. I have like 4 crying playlists. I've got Banjo Tears 1 and 2. Those are my country crying playlists. I have A Good Cry. That's going to be my pop. No, I'm so sorry. A Good Cry is my classic crying songs, like The Fray. Then I have Sad Girl Hours. That's my pop crying playlist. And then I have Taylor Swift crying playlist. That's just as it sounds, exclusively sad Taylor Swift songs. Then I have Crying in the Bathtub Again. That's my playlist that is more geared towards me sitting in a bubble bath, having like a movie montage of just staring into space, being sad by candlelight. So those are my main sad playlists. I'm sure I have a couple more that I'm missing, but if you would like to listen to those, then let me know. Let me know which one you would like, or all of them, and I would be more than happy to send them to you. And crying playlists aren't necessarily about crying actively with tears flowing down your face. It's more like those playlists you put on when you're in a somber, forlorn mood, or you're like maybe driving at night and there's rain on your windows and you're just kind of staring out to nothing. You want to have like one of those montages in your head where you look back and you reflect on different times in your life. Whatever. That's more what I'm saying when I say a crying playlist. Sometimes people give me a look like, you put on a playlist frequently to cry? And sometimes I do. Like I was at my parents' house a couple weeks ago and I was showing them a song from my crying playlist and I was laughing and everything was fine. And I heard the words and all of a sudden I was like, and I started crying and my mom was like, wait, are you okay? And then she had to hug me while I wept on her shoulder because the song that I put on to make me sad made me too sad. So that was a little bit humbling for me. Now I don't listen to A Good Cry as often because it turns out it actually will result in a good cry. So we're sticking to the other ones for now. All that being said, I'm kind of going off now. It's somewhere that no one really needs to hear. But that's my game plan for the week, you guys. Hopefully we'll have Brie back soon. I'm looking to bring a guest on that I've been trying to get on for several weeks, but we've been having scheduling conflicts and life conflicts and everything, but it will be worth it when they're on and it will be fantastic. So we're not going to overdo it with the guests because I still feel like I want to keep that besties on FaceTime feel, but there are a few that I would like to bring to you. So thank you guys for listening. It has been a moderate pleasure. I feel like I have been so awkward. Oh, wait, I have a story. Don't click off yet. I was at an event the other day, and here's the thing. When someone says to me, oh, I listened to your podcast, I always have this fear that flashes before me where I'm like, oh no, like what do they know about me? I have said so many things. And it's easy for me to talk about them alone in the room and then just be like, yeah, the listeners, whatever. But then when someone says like, oh, I listened to your podcast, immediately my brain just goes to the weirdest things that I've said and the cringiest things and like the things I've admitted and the fact that I've been on here crying or on here just talking about how I'm depressed, everything. And someone will be like, oh, I listened to the podcast. I'm like, oh, yay. So if you have ever said that to me in person and I've reacted weird, it's because I immediately feel embarrassed and I don't know why. Well, actually, I do know why. It's because I overshare. But I do appreciate it so much and it makes me so happy, but I feel embarrassed for like a split second before I can be grateful. And that's why I might have that weird look on my face. But someone was talking and they were like, your voice sounds so familiar. And she's like, I know I've heard it before. Like, I know exactly your voice, but I cannot picture it. And I just did not have it in my heart to be like, oh, I have a podcast. Do you listen to my podcast? Because who am I to be like, do you listen to my podcast? Do you tune in? That's obnoxious. So I just did not even throw her a bone. I just sat there and I was like, oh, I don't know. That's so weird. I don't know where you would maybe know me from. And we never got to the conclusion, but I just felt like it would be so stuck up of me to be like, oh, it's probably from my podcast. I don't know if you listen to it. So I didn't say anything. I just stood there and I said, that's crazy. Let me know if you think of it. So if you're listening, I'm so sorry that I didn't tell you, but the thought that I would say, oh, probably from my podcast, and then you'd be like, no, I don't listen to that. That possibility made me not want to even suggest it at all. So that's where we're at. But now that's all I had to say. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for riding with me for the past 5 weeks of solos. If you listen to all of these, I appreciate you so, so much. You've heard so many hours of my voice at this point, and I really do appreciate you hanging in here. I know this has been a transitional period, and we have a lot of goals for the podcast and wanting to bring even more to you next year and to be even better, but sometimes life gets in the way. So thank you for sticking with us as we navigate all of that, and hopefully we will still get to bring you everything that we're looking for in the new year. So here's to our season of chrysalis. Love you guys. Bye.